We started our adventure in the sanctuary of La Mentorella near Rome in search of Atlantis and the ancient mysteries that connect the order of the Jesuits with our arcane revelations. And today we are also down here in Rome after being in the sanctuary of La Mentorella, where the heart of Athanasius Kircher is buried, in Piazza del Gesu, in front of the main church of the Jesuit order, where the Jesuits are initiated, where the Jesuit general, the so-called Black Pope, is nominated. But we don't have the body of Athanasius Kircher, neither here or in other churches. The body of Athanasius Kircher apparently has disappeared. This Piazza del Gesu is very important because it constituted for 50 years the magical triad of power in Italy, which connected the Jesuit order with the Christian Democrat Party in that building over there, which we're going to show you now, and the headquarters of the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite. As you can see, is practically 1 minute away. In fact, I'm just walking across from the entrance of the Jesuit headquarters for this church dedicated to their founder, Sant'Ignatius Loyola, and then crossing Piazza del Gesu, we find ourselves in front of the Supreme Council of the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite in Italy. To this day, this is one of the most powerful Masonic lobbies in Italy. In fact, the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite that is now working here works under the Grand Orient of Italy of Palazzo Giustiniani. But many other groups of Freemasons have created from various schisms their own orders, and they always call them Obbedienza Piazza del Gesu, because this piazza, this square, is one of the most powerful points in the whole of the world, and definitely for 50 years the driving force of Italy until what is known as the First Republic fall down and we moved on to the same old rubbish under a new format, and that's Silvio Berlusconi from the P2 Lodge. So even if we don't have the political headquarters of the Christian Democrats here anymore as powerful as before, even if this building in the middle is not so obvious as it used to be the center of political power in Italy, we can say that obviously Piazza del Gesu is one of the most important places in Rome and in the world that really represents the Jesuit power. What is the connection between the Jesuits and the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite? Well, the Jesuits in 1705 basically recreated the Templar order, and then in 1605, and then in between 1705 and 1750 in Clermont, in France, in this famous Catholic university under the Jesuits, they created the basis for what was to become the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite, which fully developed after the convent of Wilhelmsbad in Germany. This is very important for historians in Freemasonry to accept that there is a link between the Jesuit order and the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, because the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry is probably the most powerful rite of Freemasonry in the world. And the one that we have here is the third one in importance after the Mother Council, the Supreme Mother Council of the world, which is obviously from Charleston moved on to Washington, D.C., and then after the one in France. So the third one to be created in 1805 was in Italy by obviously a Napoleonic officer. So today we have really gone in search of the mysteries the arcane revelations that connect the Jesuit order, alchemy with Athanasius Kircher, and the ancient land of Atlantis. We found out in La Mentorella this really close connection between the Jesuits and Isis and the mother goddess, described so well by Athanasius Kircher, following on the footsteps, obviously, of somebody we also know very well, which is described, which describes the golden ass, which is Apuleius. So the Isis, the figure of Isis, is then transposed into the Black Mary, into the Mary figure, which we also saw in the main church here of the Jesuits in Piazza Gesu. And this devotion towards the Mother Goddess seems to be of great importance. The Black Mary is more clearly, obviously, Isis, but all the Holy Marys are in reality the Mother Goddess, are a representation of Isis. Atlantis, well, as we know, Athanasius Kircher created this map of Atlantis based on his work with Plato and the Timaeus and the Crizia. But we can also say that he did this after being in the sanctuary of Mentorella for 5 years. Did he find out something during that time that gave him the possibility to write down in so much detail this map? We don't know that for sure, but we know that there is a lot of talk about an Arcana Arcanorum of Atlantis, which is deposited in the Jesuit tradition. And we definitely know that Athanasius Kircher knew a lot more than the average man of his age. That's why he was probably one of the most important men of science of his age. And for sure, the person that represents more the tradition of magic, of alchemy, the esoteric tradition of the Jesuits. The arcane revelations are moving now to Piazza Navona. And why Piazza Navona? Well, I will tell you in a minute. So we are here at the end of our path, of our journey into the ancient mystery school of the Jesuit tradition with Athanasius Kircher, in search of the land of Atlantis. We went through many interesting discoveries to finally arrive here in Piazza Navona in front of the Bernini fountain, the fountain of the Four Rivers. Bernini was a disciple of Athanasius Kircher. He was a disciple of his alchemical tradition, which is obviously described here so well, and their connection with Egypt and with the ancient land of Atlantis that we are talking about since the beginning of this special. The element of water is the element described in Dan Brown's novel Angels and Demons, where we find an attempted assassination which takes place just here. And the element of water is also connected obviously to Atlantis. But it's very interesting that Dan Brown never mentions the connection between Bernini and the Jesuit tradition of Athanasius Kircher, the famous alchemist who is truly an Illuminati and who was connected with Giambattista della Porta and with all the famous Illuminati of his time. Why does Dan Brown never mention this connection between Bernini and Athanasius Kircher? Well, some elements of truth might be there in Angels and Demons and might be even in plain view, but are not given all the details because the secrets that lies beneath the Jesuit tradition is the Arcana Arcanorum of Atlantis, which we have been searching since the beginning of this special.
So we finish this great experience by announcing this latest revelation, the election of the first Jesuit Pope in history, Pope Francis, a Pope that by his own words comes from the end of times, elected on the ominous date of the 13th of March 2013.